why my cat cried when I left her alone. The night after we buried her, I awoke to the sensation of someone stroking my hair in a rough voice close to my ear, whispering good things.
Here, shake the first happen, right? You'll feel nothing except up in the crib with a midnight wind as if I was there for your cheeks. Your face is completely empty. Don't be scared of monsters. Just look for them. Look to your left, to your right, up your bed, press your hands in your closet. But never look up. She hates being seen. As soon as you find your knowledge on the bridge that whispers of the fluid of darkness face continues to your left face.
Eyes that watch down from the shadows of abyss, that chill runs down a lingering hiss. Shivers that dance along your spine, a presence unseen and eerie sign. Footsteps that echo in darkness near, and spectral touch you cannot bear. Most of the past they can call, haunting your town of new songs. In this world of whispers and wails, a haunting fear that never fails. The unknown and unseen, they haunt and prowl, the inside will say they howl.
In the 19th century, people had to solve with dark faces and turnips to eliminate their companions. Turnips been placed on trees for about 8 years. When Irish immigrants settled in the U.S., they adopted the tradition with them. However, since there were no turnips, they used pumpkins instead. Over the years, some had incorporated many traditions, making long parts of the constant. Although the original Catholic traditions had long colonies of
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. By the drinking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes.
Beyond the house at the end of the lane, ghostly figures possible to stay. He haunts the halls and looks at night, waiting for victims to feel touch. The squeaky step and every shadow stands. He views shapeless appears of the ghost dark stands. The place of halls of death dimension, leaving behind the trail of fear and torment. No mortal soul can escape its grasp, as it reveals eternal ghostly past. So heed this warning and stay away, lest you become his last touch.
But please, walk softly as we do. Frogs are here and crickets too. Ain't no ceiling, only blue. Jays dwell here and sunbeams too. Lilies are flowers, take a view. Ferns grow here and daisies too. Whoosh, swoosh, too, woo. Bats dwell here and hoot owls too. Gnomes dwell here and goblins too. And in your child, I thought you knew. I dwell here, and so do you. In the dead of night, his ghostly form appears, a spectre of death, a bringer of fears. With hollow eyes and a twisted grin, he haunts the living, his ringing to begin. Through the misty woods, he silently strides, his ghostly presence no place to hide. He seeks out souls with a vengeful thirst, to drag them down to the realm accursed. Beware the chilling whispers in the dark, his icy touch leaving its mark. For once he roamed among the living, now he huts with unforgiving. So if you hear the phantom's wail, then feel his presence in the gale. Pray for mercy and swift day to night, for the creepy ghost hunts at night.
In the dead of night, the haunted house lives, its windows broken, its walls consumed, by shadows dancing in pale moonlight, a place where darkness reigns, where spirits take flight. Whispers echo through the empty halls as memories linger within its walls. The air is heavy with a sense of dread, as the house comes alive with the restless dead. Ghosts roam freely in every room, their mournful wails filling the gloom. Eerie footsteps echo on the stair, sending shivers through the cold night air. Brave souls dare to enter its domain, seeking to unlock its starlit frame, to unravel the mysteries it conceals, and confront the terror that it reveals. For in the heart of the haunted house's ruin lies a key to lift the ancient tomb and release the spirits from their eternal play, bringing an end to the house's endless night.
The baby bat screamed out loud in fright. "Turn on the door! I'm afraid of the light!"
Found a witch's cookbook, magic recipes, the hard-to-find ingredients to make shopping sprees. Amidst the pitch of bed books, a hare an alligator eyeball, and a silver eyeball. I had a stinker on it, the snakeskin in its room, the snakeskin in its room, a tipped giant spit and toadstool barbecue. I stirred some pictures clockwise in a giant bag. I may have overcooked it because I turned it to a bag.
Ravens and crows will eat dead animals, and in ancient times observed eating deceased humans on battlefields. Some First Nation tribes in North America believe the crow is a shapeshifter and lives in the void of time. In German mythology, witches didn't write brooms, but ravens. When witches go riding, and black cats are asleep, and laughs and whispers to snare family.
Mr. Edgar Allan Poe wrote some famous verses so, at Halloween you all should know, I am a raven, not a crow. P.S. A flock of ravens is called a conspiracy. Another common superstition that we practice on Halloween is avoiding crossing paths with black cats. The idea that black cats cause bad luck came from the Middle Ages. They thought that if a cat were spotted being chased, she would turn into a witch so that she could escape and no one could know where she was. History of costumes and trick-or-treating. Well, the tradition of dressing up in costumes on Halloween began in Old England as well. In the olden days, on All Hallows Eve, people thought that ghosts came back to Earth for one day. They generally tried not to leave their homes on that day, but if they did have to, for some reason, they would dress in a costume of a ghost or a spirit, so that if they did come across a ghost, it would think that they were a ghost too. Another tradition of Celtic people on All Hallows Eve was to leave bowls of food outside their houses, so that ghosts would find it and be happy. As a result, they wouldn't try to get in the house. This was the start of the tradition, trick or treating.
The cat would stare at me every day when I was little. I used to think he had a staring problem or something, until I found out he was looking behind me. When I looked behind me one day, he started kissing. I turned back around and he disappeared. I turned back around and the last thing I saw, before the world went dark, was two red eyes gazing into my soul.
It was Wednesday afternoon, October 3rd, 1849. Rain, light but insistent, fell on the streets of Baltimore.
I made my way along the busy boulevard to the interstate caught my eye. I stopped short and looked close.
Outside of Gunner's Hall, a popular saloon, a man lay sprawled on his back. He was clothed in a torn black suit coat and a pair of baggy gray trousers, clearly several sizes too large for him.
Everything he wore was soaking wet.
Somehow, out of his stupor, the helpless victim managed to identify himself.
Poe! Poe!
Poe?
Edgar Poe!
Some knew him by his guardian's name, Allan.
Edgar Allan.
Edgar Allan. Edgar Allan Poe. Poe. The nurses cut Poe's rain-drenched clothing from his body and bundled him in sheets and blankets. Toward morning, he began to tremble until his every bone shook violently. He talked without let-up, angrily raging against the shadows on the walls.
Mother!
dead baby. Being young Poe is almost worth.
Father! David Poe, a failure as an actor, deserted his family when Edgar was only 2.
Allan.
John Allan, at his wife's urging, the wealthy and honorable John Allan agreed to take Edgar Poe into the family as a foster child. From the time he was introduced into this high society, the boy became known as Edgar Allan Poe. Poe. Reared as a country gentleman, Poe was expected to inherit the Allan fortune, but the foster son and father were in constant violent opposition.
Dear sir, I write with full humility.
Dear Edgar, as your guardian and advisor, I must express my extreme displeasure and regret on hearing your accounts of your drinking and gambling that have come to me. I'm afraid I shall find it quite impossible. No possibility, no money. It's quite impossible.
Dear sir, dear father, be so good as to send me my trunk with my clothes. I wrote to you on Wednesday, explaining my reason for leaving. I am in the greatest necessity, not having taken food since yesterday morning. I have nowhere to sleep at night, but roam about the streets. I beseech you to lend it. If you will not give me as much money as will afraid of the expense of my passing to Boston, and a little to support me.
Dear Edgar, I will send nothing to a gambling poet. A roguish writer, how can one support himself through writing? If I send money now, I will be forever sending money. I ask you, young man, what is the chief end of this folly of yours, this financial existence?
When I came of age, my father asked me one day if I would step into his study.
My son, what is the chief end of your existence?
My father is to study nosology.
And what, may I require, is nosology?
Sir, it is the science of noses.
And can you tell me what is the meaning of a nose?
My nose, my father, has been variously defined by about 1,000 different authors. It's now noon, or thereabouts. We shall have enough time to get through with them all before midnight. To commence then, the nose, according to Barcelonius, is that protuberance, that bump, that excursions, that...
I am thunderstruck at the extent of your information. I'm positively upon my soul. Come here. Your education may now be considered finished. It is high time you discover for yourself, and you cannot do a better thing than merely follow your nose. So get thee out of my house, and God bless you.
Wonderful genius,
Clever fellow, fine writer,
profound thinker,
great man, divine soul, one of us.
Edgar Allan Poe longed for the recognition as a writer and the freedom to write as he pleased. Without encouragement or love from his family, melancholy overtook the young poet as he wandered the streets of Boston.
The telltale heart. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I have been, and am. But why do you say that I am mad?
The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. And then, am I mad? Hearken, and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insults. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was.
One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. So by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind. I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point you fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded. With what caution? With what foresight? With what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust my head in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening, so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman be so wise? I did this for 7 long nights. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. Perhaps he heard me, though, for he moved on the bed. Suddenly, as if startled, you may think that I drew back, but no. I had my head in and was about to open the lantern when presently I heard a slight groan. Oh! And I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied himself. Although I chuckled at heart, I knew he had been lying awake. His fears had been growing upon him. He was thinking he had heard nothing. He was saying to himself, "It was nothing but the wind in the chimney. It was only a mouse crossing the floor. It is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he was trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. So I opened the door. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like a thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and full upon the vulture eye. I could see nothing else of the old man's face, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon the damp spot. And now have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the senses? Now I say there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well too. It was the beating. Beating! It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet, I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew. Quicker, quicker, louder, louder. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder and louder every minute. Do you mark me well? I told you I am nervous. So I am. And now, at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for some minutes longer, I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder and louder. I thought the heart might burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed covers over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed covers and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber, deposited all between the scantlings, and then replaced the board so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. When I had made an end to these labors, it was 4 o'clock. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I opened it, for what I had to fear. There entered 3 men, who introduced themselves as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard in the night. There's a suspicion of a foul play. We have been deputed to search the premises. I smiled for what I had to fear. I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasure secure, undisturbed in the enthusiasm of my confidence. I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues.
Thank you.
While I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath the repose the corpse of the victim.
We are satisfied.
My manner had conceived them. I was singularly at ease, but ere long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distant. It continued and became more distant. I talked more freely to get rid of the feelings, but it continued and gained definitiveness, until at length I found the noise was not within my ears. No doubt, I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice. Yes, the sound increased, and what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much the sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath. Any of the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observation of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair on which I had been sitting and grated it upon the floor, and still it grew louder and louder, and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? No, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was more than this agony, anything more tolerable than this derision. I couldn't bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now, again, hark! Louder! Villains! I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here is the beating of his hideous heart. Poe's young wife. She was 14 when they married. Was frail. Descriptions of her at the time speak of. A simple child, sweet, gentle manners, small for her age, with a hint of death lingering about her. She was the object of Poe's constant, loyal, and abiding affection. In January 1842, the young wife, dressed in all white, was playing her harp. Suddenly, she gasped and clutched her throat. A stream of blood gushed spilling over the white of her dress.
As a critic for the prestigious Grammars magazine, I feel it's my duty to endure the topics for writing enduring literature. Now, of all melancholy topics, what, according to the universal understanding of mankind, is the most melancholy? Death is the obvious reply. Then it is unquestionably undoubted that the best suited for such a topic are those of a bereaved lover.
It was many and many a year ago, a kingdom by the sea, that maiden there lived whom the maiden called named Annabelle. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle, with the love that the wings service of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, with the light cloud shining my beautiful Annabelle, so that her high-born kismet came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in the soft wicker in this kingdom by the sea.
The angels not half so happy in heaven, when envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea. And the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle tea.
Now the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so all night tide I lie by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in the sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the southern sea.
With so much death in his life, his mother, his foster mother, and now his child life, Poe became obsessed with the melancholy subject.
The Red Death had dawned devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous.
The redness and horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and the fierce eating had cold. Scarlet turns upon the body, especially when it is the one where the best should. It would shut him out from the aid of some of the country's fellow men, and the whole season progress in transmission took place in a half an hour.
But happy and confident.
When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned 1,000 hale and light-hearted French who retired to the deep seclusions of one of his abbeys. The abbey was amply provisioned with such precautions the courtier might bid itself. The external world could take care of itself.
In the meantime, it was folly to believe or think about those doubts. The prince provided pleasure. They were buffoons.
Lincoln, musicians.
Why? All these and pure were they. Without was the red death.
Prince Prospero entertained his thousand friends at a festival the most unusual magnificence.
But first, let me tell you of the room in which it was held. There were 7 rooms of bizarre and curious suites. The eastern room was put in blue, and vivid blue over its windows. The second chamber was purple. The third was green. The fourth was furnished and lighted with orange. The fifth was white, and the sixth was white. The seventh was a closely shrouded in black text. This chamber over the panes were scarlet, a deep blood color. In the middle of that color suit, there stood a heavy tripod bearing a brazier of fire! Fire! And thus were priests in a multitude of gaudy and fantastic appearances.
Against the western wall stood a gigantic clock, its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang when the hour was to be struck. There came from the brass and lungs of the clock
a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical.
It was so peculiar that at each lapse of an hour, musicians of the orchestra paused to hearken the sound. And thus the Walters ceased revolution, then the whole day company.
There were some who would have thought him mad.
His followers felt he was not. It was necessary to hear, to see, to touch him to be sure he was not.
Prince Prospero's apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the hearts of the light and the revel went whirling on.
All at once, there came the sound of midnight upon the clock.
And the music ceased. The evolution of the Walters were quiet. There was an uneasy sensation in all hands.
Before the last echo chimed, the last chime had utterly sunk into silence. There were those in the crowd who had become aware of the presence of a masked figure which had arrested the attention of Joan Ford. And threat had spread itself.
Whisper, 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 whisper more. There arose the whole company, a buzz, a murmur, expressed of desperation and surprise. Then finally, terror.
Horror.
Disgust.
It was appalling. Shrouded from head with the absence of the grave, the mask which sealed the passage was made to resemble the face of a stiffened corpse.
And yet, this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad others around. But the murder had gone so far as to assume the title that death infected us dead with blood. His broad brows were sprinkled with the scarlet of blood.
Prince Prospero's brow reddened with rage.
Who dares insult us with blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may not know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements.
At first sentence, there was a slight rushing in the direction of the intruder, who was stepping closer to his figure. He passed within a yard of the prince. While the mass assembly shrank away, he made his way uninterrupted through the blue chamber to the purple.
To the purple, to the green.
Through the green to the orange.
To the white, to the violet.
It was then that Prince Prospero, mad with rage, rushed into his chamber.
And none followed him on account of deadly terror.
Throwing off the drawn dagger, he approached and turned suddenly and confronted the prisoner. There was a sharp eye.
And the dagger dropped, leaning upon the head that instantly afterward called Prospero to death, the Prince Prospero.
Then summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of revelers at once threw themselves into the black apartment and seizing the murmur, whose tall figures stood erect and motionless of the ebony clock.
Finding the great threat, and corporate, which they handled with so violent conclusions, uninhabited by any tangible form.
And now let's acknowledge the presence of the Red Death.
He had come like a thief in the night.
And one by one dropped the rebels into the blood that was all of the rebels, and died each of them in the same posture of his blood.
And the light of the ebony clock went out.
And the flames of the tripod expired.
In darkness and decay, hold the red, limitable dominion over all.
Oh, it's you again.
Yes, it's me. How is it?
How many do you want of this?
125 out of you.
Now, what can I do for you, Poe?
It's not what you can do. I think I have to do it.
And what is that?
I'm telling you guys, it's gonna be amazing.
Okay. Are you gonna show me or what?
Graham, just look at this.
The raven?
Yes, the raven.
I want to learn how to speak a bird.
It isn't just about a bird. Look, have I ever looked you up? You're reading about me. They ignore me.
And that's exactly why I won't let you embarrass yourself by putting something out called the Raven.
But Graham,
I'm telling you.
you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
Look, Graham, I wouldn't ask because of my family. I can give some money. I haven't had anything, Graham. I thought it was just the raven. Please.
Do you guys have a handout here for a friend, Poe? Now here, go buy yourself some food, maybe some shoes. Don't squander it. You hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Wonderful genius.
Clever fellow.
Fine, writer.
Profound thinker.
Great man.
One divine soul.
One of us.
Once upon a midnight tree, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many acquainted curious volume of forgotten law, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis a visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door." Only this, and nothing more. Distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember brought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I sought to borrow, but my books are creased with sorrow, sought but a lost Lenore, but a rare and radiant maiden, who the angels named Lenore. And the silken, sad, and certain rustling from each curtain throws me, filled me with fantastic person I never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis Samantha," entreating at the entrance of my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more. Open here, I've blown the shutter, when with many flutter and flutter, in there stepped the stately raven of the saintly days of yore.
Not the least of face to face, not a minute's silent shade, will find border day perched on my chamber door.
Perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony raven beguiled my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore.
"Though thy price be shorn or shaven, thou," I said, "art no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the nice Teutonian shore."
The raven never
Startled at the stillness, broken with reply, so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is only stock and store, copied from a happy master whom a merciful disaster followed fast."
And followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore.
see the air
"Wretch," I cried, God and plenty, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore.
Lenore.
Quack, oh quack, kind of nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
"Prophet," said I, "thing of evil."
Prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yea, all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted.
"Tell me, truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore."
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
"Be that word our sign of parting, bird or bee," I shrieked, "of starting, get ye back into the tempest night Plutonian shore. Leave no blood plume as a token of that live soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken."
with the bust above my doors.
Take thy beak from out my heart, take thy form from off my door.
Quoth the raven, nevermore, and the raven never flitting.
Still is sitting,
And the pallid bust of palace just about my chamber door.
and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming.
The lamp light o'er him, streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul of that shadow that lies floating on the floor
Shall be lifted.
nevermore.
Several years later, Poe was able to find a publisher for The Raven. He suddenly became the most famous poet in America.
I love him. I dote on it. I idolize it. I would drink to the very dregs of glorious intoxication.
Even though Poe was famous, he earned $50 for the raven. He was aesthetically poor.
Fame, glory.
He began to have headaches.
No man lives unless he is famous.
He depended on the constant attention of his dear mother.
Of her, Poe wrote, "My mother, my own mother, who died early, was but the mother of myself, but you are dear, and the mother I knew."
Mother,
His grandson for years, he was 3 years.
mother.
Nurses had to restrain him to keep him in bed. At 3 o'clock on Sunday morning, all who hovered by his bedside knew the end was near for Edgar Poe. Edgar Allan. Poe.
Yes, I read history. My fame is universal. It extends to the uttermost ends of the earth. Look at me, how I labored, how I toiled, how I wrote. Ye gods that are not right, I knew not the word ease. By day I hid to my desk, at night a pill to me, I consumed the midnight oil. You should have seen me. You should. I leaned to the right, I I leaned to the left, I sat forward, I sat backward, I sat upon end, and through it all I wrote. Through joy and through sorrow I wrote. Through hunger and through thirst I wrote. Through sunshine and through moonshine I wrote. But I wrote, it is unnecessary to say that style, that little thing. I caught it from the gods, and I'm giving you a fragment of it now.